You might have heard of a unit called decibels to measure sound, and if you've ever had to deal with it, you probably realize that the more you learn about decibels, the less they make sense. Maybe you've heard of some decibel measurements, like the sound of a human screaming is about 100 decibels. So you think, okay, it's some scale where 0 is quiet and 100 is really loud. Then you find yourself in a recording studio with faders that go from 10 decibels down to 0 decibels and then to infinity. Or if you're using digital audio, all of your faders are 0 decibels at the top. Why is the maximum level 0? Well, for this to make any sense, you have to understand that decibels are a relative scale. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to say that this sound is this many decibels, because that's going to raise the question, relative to what? So here's how it works. 1 decibel is a tenth of a bell, and 1 bell is a 10 times increase in level. So 2 bells is 10 times louder than 1 bell, and therefore 20 decibels is 10 times louder than 10 decibels. This is called a logarithmic scale. We measure level like that because it's very similar to how we perceive it. So if you try to use this as some absolute measurement of how loud something is, you're going to have to place something at 0 dB. And then you can say something that's 10 decibels is 10 times louder than that, and something that's minus 10 decibels is a tenth of the level. So when someone says that a human scream is 100 decibels, the unit they're actually using is called dBSPL, which stands for sound pressure level, and that's where we set 0 dB as the quietest sound a human can hear, which is about 20 micropascals. Analog audio usually uses dBVU, which stands for volume units. I'm not going to get into volume units right now, but it's what you see on these fun little scales. So 0 on here is 0 volume units, 10 is 10 times that, minus 10 is a tenth of that, and so on. Because as you go down, you're taking a fraction of the loudness at 0, you're never actually going to get negative. You're just going to keep getting closer to 0 until you get to minus infinity, which is complete silence. As for digital audio, this is usually measured in dBFS, which stands for full scale, where 0 is as loud as it can be before it starts clipping. But I'm afraid that's not quite the whole picture of how we measure how loud something is, because unfortunately, the amplitude level in dB is not necessarily the same as how loud we perceive something. If you want to actually get an idea of how loud something feels, you're gonna have to use loudness units, which is a topic for a future video.